What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the Pix 5 Media YouTube channel. My name is Barnard, as always, and today I am here to talk about probably my favorite player in this entire draft class, for sure the guy that I have circled as my number one option on the Sixers-specific big board here, that being Devin Carter from Providence College. In this video, I'm going to dive into what he brings to the table from a skill set standpoint, take a look at his stats from his 3 seasons in college, and dive into some film for what makes him so special as a player. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start by taking a look at his stats here. As I mentioned, he played 3 seasons at the college level, 2 of them at Providence, 1 of them at South Carolina, his freshman year that he spent there before transferring. In his freshman year at South Carolina, averaged 9 points per game in his 18.7 minutes played. Also added 3.8 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 2.1 turnovers. The biggest concern was the shooting. Shot just 26.7% from beyond the three-point arc and 68.8% at the free throw line. 42% from the field overall. Not quite good enough there. He did ultimately translate to Providence, where we began to see his game flourish a little bit. In his first year there, he started all 33 games, played 32 minutes per game, produced 13.0 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.8 steals per game, 1.1 blocks, both very impressive numbers there. Improved the shooting a little bit from the field overall, bumped up to 42.7%. From beyond the three-point arc, up to 29.9% on 3.5 attempts per game. And the free throw shooting increased to 72% there. Also, still cut the turnovers down to 1.6 per game, so important to note there. And then this most recent season is where he really flourished and became put on the national stage as a true NBA prospect. Started all 33 games once again, averaged 35.3 minutes per game, 19.7 points, 8.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.8 steal, 1.0 block, increased the three-point percentage to 37.7% on 6.8 three-point attempts per game. That's some real deal high volume and some solid efficiency to be paired with it. Also continued improving as a free throw shooter, up that number to 74.9% on the most free throws that he's ever shot at the collegiate level. And from the field overall, 47.3%, which is a far better number. His 56.3% percentage on 2-point shots is by far the best of the 3 years in college. And that efficiency leap is a huge reason why we are having these types of conversations. But one thing that I do want to note here is when you look at these stats like this, we're talking about 8.7 rebounds per game. You do not guess that Devin Carter is a 6'3" guard, but that's exactly what he is. And personally, I'll say that I was pretty surprised to see him measure in that at the combine. He plays significantly bigger than you would expect to be the case than that 6'3" label holds. And let's dive into a little bit of his game by looking at some highlights here while I talk through what specifically he brings to the table. The first thing that you're going to see, and it starts right here with the play, look at this hounding defense, gets the steal, goes coast to coast, that he is a wing in a guard's body, and I mean that in the most positive of terms, that he is completely comfortable getting it out in transition, can play above the rim a little bit at that 6'3" frame. Look at that putback dunk. That's impressive stuff. That does not happen for a guard of his size. And I get some of the concerns and pushback is like, what is the role fit here for a guy that when you're 6'3", you got to be special at the NBA level. The shooting, I do think, is a real factor. And by the way, to pair with the improved 3-point numbers overall, he takes some like deep 3-pointers. Like he takes some shots that are not these catch and shoot open opportunities. I do not believe the efficiency increased because of his shot selection. I believe the efficiency increased because he got better as a shooter, which is a more encouraging facet there. He also can take guys off the dribble. That's just a phenomenal play here. We're going to run that one back right here. Look at him attack this closeout, beat a guy after the catch here, and then get up and slam it down. That's impressive stuff. There are not a lot of players in this draft or on this earth period who can play it like that. I think there's a chance that this shooting stuff continues, that he could grow his way into a potential, I don't want to say lights out shooter, but a guy that is a high level player. And the other thing to note there, that he can create for others. Now look at all these options here. I'm going to rewind this play. Look at him find the cutter when driving to the basket here. Gets in the lane. He could have gone up for the tough finish there, but dishes off for the better look for his team. A great decision with the ball. I also like this play here, the way, look at how he backs himself in, kind of weaves his way into the basket, and after using a bunch of energy, catches the guy sleeping off ball and punishes him as the cutter hits baseline there. It's a good read. That's a smart play. It's a high IQ basketball play. And I think that fits what Devin Carter is, that he's a high IQ basketball player. I do think ultimately that what he will be in the NBA, his defining trait, what will stick from day one, it is on the defensive side of the ball. That this guy is a real deal high-level defender. He's a guy that will take an opponent's best guard and make them quiet for a game. That he's going to be all over him. He's annoying. He's obnoxious. He'll push. He'll bump hands. He'll do all these things. He truly has some really high level hands as far as instinctual stuff for blocking shots, getting in passing lanes, just being like a pest on that side of the floor. It's really good stuff, all stuff that helps the team. And here's another great example of him getting downhill and creating. This is at some really pretty rapid game speed. And look at this dot that he just throws to his big man cutting. Once again, attacking the closeout, creating the advantage, and sending it to his teammate to punish there. It's a great look there. He also seems to be very much like a team guy. Like, I always tried to notice that when you watch like the reaction from his teammates, like people seem to be generally hyped for Devin Carter when he does well. And I do think that is a sign of a guy that is well liked within the locker room. Now, when speaking about the shooting, there is a little bit that I would like to get the release point a little higher on the jumper. I've seen some complaints about the mechanics of it, and here's probably the best look. Look at where he's actually releasing this ball from. And I'm going to freeze this right as we get to the loading point here. So they kick out. You can see it here. One more. And look, he's shooting it kind of a little bit Tyrese Halliburton-esque, where he's down from the shoulder here. And the reason that is limiting is you have to have a little more space to get it off. He ultimately does, and it goes in here. That is one of the heavier critiques that I've seen of Devin Carter that needs to be fixed a little bit. I will say personally that I'm not as bullheaded that guys always have to have perfect form or have to fix things to the NBA standard or the basketball standard as what a jump shot should look like. If it goes in my mind. But I do hear the critique of why that is limiting in certain situations. And frankly, that's why, like this example right here, as we will rewind this again, why he ends up shooting three-pointers from several feet behind the arc at times is to create that shot. So I get that being a concern, but I think he might just be good enough as a shooter that you can overlook it. And to be honest, the selling point on Devin Carter, period, is not the shooting, that it is the complete package, is the defensive intensity, and the rebounding is a real thing. A 6'3" guard to average 8.7 rebounds per game is absurd stuff. That is some Josh Hart level stuff. And I could see that being the type of niche that he fills at the NBA level as well. Specifically on a team like the Sixers that I mentioned he is the guy that would be number one on my big board there. That is something that from day one he would be effective at filling a role at. That is a team that needs rebounding help, and when you have an advantage from the guard position, that is going to be a big deal. And particularly with guards, a lot of times are not hitting the rebounding boards at the same rate as some other players, that he's going to be able to capitalize on that and punish that. I know Patrick Beverley had been open about that he's like, I'd pretty much never get a body put on me because guards aren't used to having to rebound like that. So I'm able to sneak in and get some extra possessions because of it. I think Devin Carter is going to be well known that is a factor from start to finish, just as it is with a guy like Josh Hart. As far as the shooting stuff, again, as long as he's good enough to just knock down the open looks, that's all they're asking for at the NBA level. But I don't think he's going to turn into this sniper. I think more that he's going to be cut from the defensive stopper. And to put in the Josh Hart comparison, once again, like Josh Hart shoots 31% from three, or at least did this season. And we know that he caught fire in the postseason, that he had some opportunities there. But when you have other skills that are good enough, you will stick at the NBA. And there is a little bit of like an off the dribble ability. I like this play here. Let me take this again. I like this because this is like the third option is let me attack here. And he still does it. That he pump fakes the three, dribbles into the elbow, gets the big man on the switch, shakes him and gets the lay in. That's really good stuff. And that isn't stuff that the play was drawn up to do. That you can see him freestyling on the go. He didn't get the look he wanted, didn't get the second look he wanted, and still gets 2 points for his team right there. That's really good stuff. Really good creativity. And pretty much all these three-pointers, once again with the shot form, you're seeing it shoot from a couple feet from beyond the line. Even this one here, you can see him pretty much has the momentum going into it, gets the kickback. He's still a couple feet back. But that is something to watch. And I will just note that, like, I would prefer that to be the case than a dude that is constantly hugging the line. Like, Tobias Harris is a dude that I've never seen shoot a three-pointer without his toes directly behind the three-point line. That's limiting as a player, that you don't have the same ability to space the floor. You don't have the same ability to capitalize and just connect at the rate that you need to be a high-level player. I do think Devin Carter does in that regard. And you're seeing some of the blocks on these recent highlights. That is really intriguing. And he does a nice job. This has become a more common skill set, but he does a nice job of coming from behind the jump shooter and blocking that shot from behind. It's very tough and very frustrating as a player when you are able to pull that one off, because that is something where you think you're in the clear and then all of a sudden your shot is getting sent into the bleachers without even knowing that he was there. So that is something Matisse Thybulle, I know, particularly excelled at that. He went to an extent that I did not like, that, you know, he was kind of giving up his defensive bearings to go for the turnovers. That is not Devin Carter. That you still will see this guy get up in a guy's face, want to match him one-on-one in a way that's really refreshing to me. I do think that he's like a high-level defender that will be from day one. That there's a little bit of kind of the Jalen Suggs kind of outlook that I feel in his game that takes it personal from a matchup standpoint and is going to compete against their guy. that type of competitiveness will take a guy extremely far, and especially when you pair it with the type of skills that he has. So as far as kind of where I'm seeing him go in the draft, I do think that he's going to be somewhere in that like 15-ish range. I know the Sixers have the 16th pick, and I would love for him to last and be on the board then. It would not surprise me. There seems to be a good amount of buzz on Devin Carter, and deservingly so, in the recent weeks. So it would not surprise me if he continues to be a riser up draft boards and even sees his name going around like in that 12th, 13th pick range, something like that. I just am as much as like this draft has been talked about as a weak class, and kind of my pushback to that is it's absolutely missing these stars, that you don't have these can't miss prospects that are going to be these potential Hall of Famers. But what it's loaded with is a lot of these guys that I do believe will be high level role players. The Kentavious Caldwell-Popes, the guys like that can contribute to winning teams and play a long, successful NBA career. Devin Carter is just about at the top of my list for a guy that possesses those type of skills that I do think can come in and help a winning team from day one. So before Devin Carter, I think there is going to be a widely successful NBA career ahead of him. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy making all-star games or growing to a point where, we're talking about him in these ridiculous conversations. But I do think that he is highly skilled. There is a place in the NBA for him, absolutely. And that his game is going to directly translate from day one. So for all those reasons, I'm in on him as an NBA prospect. I do believe he's going to outperform his draft slot by a pretty significant margin. And he's a guy that I think is going to be one of the more likable players across the entire NBA. He will be a player that even opposing fan bases are like, I like watching that guy. That dude's pretty fun. That dude really plays hard. All these kind of phrases will be thrown his way. And let me just highlight this play as an example one more time. Look at the reaction from Devin Carter here. So first off, look at the hounding defense, him chasing his man off ball denial, pushes it off Tyler Kolek, who, by the way, was the Big East Player of the Year. And then look at that. Look at the reaction, the raw emotion. Look at him hyped up and his teammates clapping and following there. So love that. That type of raw emotion is the stuff that does get me going, that I want for guys on my team. And Devin Carter has all of that. So I'm in on Devin Carter. I want to hear what you guys know. What do you guys think as well in the comments? So let me know if you're rocking with Devin Carter as much as I am. Are you on the same page that this guy is going to be a high-level role player at the NBA level for the foreseeable future? Let me know what you guys think, any predictions that you do have. Also, make sure that you are hitting that subscribe button to show some love and keep the family growing over here at Pick Swap Media. Appreciate each and every one of you for tuning into this episode here. We'll be back talking with a bunch more draft prospects leading up until the big day then.